What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 1 of our new podcast, Can I Kick It?
Yes, you can.
That is so horrible. God. Oh, that hurts my soul when you said that.
It was an open door. I decided to walk right through it.
Well, this is your host, Elliot Barr, and this is joining me, as always, my good man,
Shanir Duran II.
And pretty much, we decided to create this podcast to focus on African American, Caribbean players, and famous African players, and what they brought to the game of soccer, how important they were. That's the whole focus of this podcast.
Yeah, so basically this series is not going to be a history lesson on black players. It won't. We'll talk about their careers, highlight the main points, the excitement, and some of what they brought to the game. But it won't be a history lesson. You don't need to take notes.
Yeah, we're not going to go like super duper boring. You're not going to feel like you're back in a college class. We're going to have fun with this podcast. We're going to be talking about, I think episode 1 talks about Damarcus Beasley. And then we're going to be talking about like players such as Ernie Stewart, Bill Hamid, Vincent Kompany, so on and so forth. Everyone.
Yeah. Rio Ferdinand.
Everyone. We're going to be talking about everyone. So we just ask you that you support us. And always, like, subscribe to our podcast and our other podcast, River City 93. You know, we want to put that out there. But with that being said, we're going to open the show talking about our first ever person on the show is Damarcus Beasley.
Yes.
Also known as the ultimate teammate.
Honestly, if you look at his career, that's a very apt description.
He started out, he really was the ultimate teammate for the way how, I think Jurgen asked him the question, this comes from like the Great Wall podcast, where you pretty much, Jurgen asked him, was like, hey, why didn't you work out in Germany? Which I feel is like a very Jurgen type question.
Yeah. very
Jurgen
type. Jurgen Klopp, the good one. Yeah.
But
the other Jurgen.
Yeah,
Jurgen
and
Klinsmann.
I feel like Beasley pretty much said he was just like, well, you know, the coach didn't like me because I only played 4 games and he bought me for a reason but never played me. And Jurgen was pretty much just like, no, I think it was something that you did. You probably didn't do too much. And I think from that moment on, it kind of changes Damarcus' mindset because instead of him going and be this winger that was effective but really wasn't effective because it's a 5-year period in his career when he goes on loan to Man City, where he goes on loan, goes to Rangers for a couple of years, go to Hanover. He hasn't played over 20 games. It is not until he comes to Mexico, Puebla, and then to Houston, and he plays left back that he kind of see the change in his career. He kind of gained this title of the ultimate teammate.
Yeah.
But let's go and start off from the beginning because that's a whole nother story. But Beasley starts off at IMG Academy, which I didn't know until I started researching him that he didn't go to college.
Nope.
Wasn't aware of that.
Nope. He pulled a LeBron James and he said, I'm good with it. The IMG Academy, though, I don't think it is in existence anymore. It is basically a boarding school for athletes in Florida.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it was. I think Josie's from that program as well. Mm-hmm. And also, if you look at how Damarcus Beasley was, he was kind of like the cream of the crop there. Granted, you also had other players like Landon Donovan, I believe, and Oguchi Nwoye, that were also part of the U.S. residency program. But Damarcus Beasley held his own. If you look at it, in 1999, he gets selected to U17 World Cup team, where he wins the silver ball.
Exactly, yes.
Kid was kind of impressive. I gotta say, even in his own right, I think he was like, I'm good, but I didn't think I was that good to get the silver ball. It's kind of one of those things. But the crazy thing is, he was part of like the first ever class at the USC residency program at like 99. That was known as Project 2010 with this whole grand plot of saying like by 2010 we're gonna have all these amazing players and we're gonna get to the World Cup final, and none of that ever happened.
Not really. Not really.
None of that ever happened.
But one thing you do need to realize is that there was improvement. Because you have to think about this. In 1999, USA just came off of a disastrous World Cup.
Yeah.
The 98 World Cup was embarrassing. And for them to come up with this revolutionary idea and say, look, we're going to do things differently, and we're going to bring in these young players, and we're going to breed them, develop them, and turn them into a squad to be feared. When you go into the 2002 World Cup, you can see that, okay, this is on the right track, because we go into the first game, and by the end of the first half, we're 3-0 up against Portugal, who's favorite to win the World Cup. One of the favorites, I should say. So this was a very revolutionary program. And, I mean, Damarcus Beasley coming out of there with the likes of, like you said, Landon Donovan, Bobby Convey, Kyle Beckerman,
Gucci
Onyewu. He's rubbing shoulders with big names.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
So while he's at IMG Academy, he gets an offer. I think he doesn't get selected at MLS draft. I think the LA Galaxy just offer him
yes.
You want to go play for us?
Yeah.
Pretty much like the Wild Wild West of like the early soccer days.
This is like what is that Netflix show?
What?
The English Game.
Oh.
Just, you want to come play for us? Yeah, we'll give you room and board. Come play.
Be our friend. So he signs with LA Galaxy, and I find the story kind of interesting. And he talks about this also in the Grand Wall podcast about how he was ready to just drop school and be like, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I made it." But his parents kind of make him stick around. And I think that was probably the best thing for him, because I think a young Beasley, I was about to say Bradley, and you've got to be so many times about that. A young Beasley was ready to, just drop everything and go to LA Galaxy at the time. And I don't think that might have been the right move, but instead, he gets traded to Chicago Fire. Never plays again for LA Galaxy, which would kind of make kind of interesting to see how Beasley would have done at LA Galaxy. But he goes to Chicago Fire. He gets traded for 2 draft picks, 2000, 2001 first rounder. So he had some value to him. He wasn't like a scrub.
Yeah.
And he was at Chicago. He did pretty well. I mean, he won, a U.S. Open Cup there and a Supporter Shield?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it was that 2003 season that he kind of cements as like one of his top games, like one of his best seasons, is the reason why PSV was like, yeah, we're going to pay almost close to $3 million for this American player.
Yes.
Which
at that time, okay, it wasn't, front of the sports section of the newspaper type of deal, but that is still, for an American at that time, that is still a big amount of money, a big chunk of cash.
I mean, even relative to today, that's still a big amount of money.
Yeah.
For an American player.
For a young American player.
And then also, so when he makes the move to PSV, there's a famous player that a lot of people know, on the right wing, but I think at this time he's playing on the left wing.
Yeah.
Who will cut inside to score a goal, Arjen Robben. We've all heard of him. He goes to Chelsea at this time, and Gus Hitting pretty much buys Damarcus Beasley to be the replacement.
Yes.
And gives him the number 11 shirt, which is like, I mean, imagine if that news broke today of like a player going to, let's say for instance, like
to Liverpool to replace Mohamed Salah.
No, you're thinking too big. More like going to Ajax to replace Frankie de Jong.
Who? Yeah.
Something like that is like.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of a winger, but I would say probably Mo Salah at Roma before. So replace him at Roma before he went to Liverpool.
But that was like a big, that was like big thing. It is also funny because Beasley in a YouTube clip, he also mentions how a lot of his teammates in Houston didn't know that he played in Champions League, nor the fact that he was like the top scorer for PSV that 1 year at in the Champions League.
Yeah, in the Champions League, scored 4 goals in 12 Champions League games, and you're thinking, oh well, that's not allowed. Well, look at the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo. Look at the likes of Wayne Rooney. Look at the likes of. But you need to remember that this is PSV.
Yeah, he was the top scorer at PSV.
At PSV.
With 4 goals.
And not only that, PSV is an underdog in the Champions League, and for him to make that much of a name for himself, and going toe to toe with teams like AC Milan. At the time, AC Milan was the all-star team of that era, with players like
Clarence Seedorf,
Kaká at his best,
Paolo Maldini,
the
only guy,
Cafu,
the only defender in the world, Paolo Maldini, that looked at tackling like it was like second class.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't need to tackle, I'm just better than you.
Exactly, and to beat them. Yeah, to beat them at the Philips Stadion 3-1. I mean, that is a big deal, and for him to be a part of that team and to play a pivotal role for that team.
So while he's at PSV, he has this big first year there. He's also the first American ever to play in the Champions League semifinal. If they're probably not beating AC Milan, but he had the closest chance of being the first American to play in the Champions League final. Yeah, which is really cool.
But again, to point this out, this is not we're going to play AC Milan and they sweep the floor with us in the first game, and the second game they don't even try as hard, so we end up winning it but losing. AC Milan won on away goals. Yeah. So it was 3-3, and because AC Milan scored an away goal, they went on. So it's close. That's a close run thing. So to play at that level as an underdog, playing for a Dutch club, and we already, I mean, those who really follow the game a lot can know that the Dutch are known for their technicality, especially with the passing game. We know that the Barcelona way comes from the Netherlands. Yeah. And so knowing that a player like Damarcus Beasley, coming from the United States, Americans who are known to be hardworking, talentless players, to be able to fit into this system and thrive is a big deal.
And I mean, also, it has to be something said about the fact that American is not only playing in the Champions League, but like starting. Like, he's one of the key players in this team. Exactly. And a coach that everyone knows, Gus Hiddink, pretty much had the confidence in him, but like, yeah, we're buying this kid and we're going to make him one of the starters of the team. Now, granted, his second year didn't go as well. From what I could find out, there wasn't really no injury. I think he just had a downturn. Yeah. I think getting used to it and everything. So, after 2 years in PSV, I think, he goes on loan to Man City for a year. He always wanted to go play in Europe. I think, wasn't it him that had the option to go play at Southampton? Or was it someone else? We've been researching a lot of people.
I think it...
was it? I'm like 90% certain he had an opportunity to go to Southampton, but something happened. Like, MLS turned it out because it wasn't enough money.
I think that did happen. Okay. I believe, yes, it was him. He was close to being in 04.
Okay.
In 04.
That's what I remember. I remember seeing that point. But it did happen. So then he goes to Man City, goes on loan. And this is before Man City has, like, oil money pumped into it.
Exactly.
This is Man City for... I want you to people to out there, listen to this. Like, this is Man City of, like, we finished 12th. Yay! That's that
table. Yeah.
That's that Man City. And also the other thing too is like I want to say Damarcus Beasley during this period of time was injury prone or wasn't up to like the level of play. Like, am I wrong in saying that?
I mean, I think one of the issues with Damarcus Beasley at that time was he loved to dribble. He loved to go at defenders. He loved to run. And it is very like, you look at players, for example, like Michael Owen or Aubameyang, very injury prone. No, it's not because they're weak. It's because they're fast. Damarcus Beasley is very fast. Yeah. So that speed puts you in danger when a defender is coming at you. Maybe
I've never ran that fast, so I wouldn't know.
Oh, no. Pace, because, and this is one of the reasons why just a small digression here, a lot of people who aren't familiar with the game of soccer think that soccer players are soft because, he went down. if you're running at full speed and you're really fast, just somebody brushing your leg, that can leave a mark. You're moving extremely fast. And so players like Damarcus Beasley, because he relied so much on his pace early on in his career, because he liked to run at defenders, he got knocked around a lot. Yeah. He got quite a few knocks in his career. Even though he only had one, I think this was also in the Grant Walsh interview. I think he only had one really serious injury in his career. I mean, he's gotten knocks. He's gotten beat up pretty badly for his pace, but he definitely was injury prone because of that. So,
yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that I found kind of interesting. Like, he got his move to England, like, to an American player, like, you want to go prove yourself in either Germany, England,
Spain, Italy.
Well,
At the time, Italy was...
Yeah, but see, there wasn't no really context of Americans going to Italy and Spain and France, like, really proving it. It was kind of like England and Germany. Were kind of like, these are the two...
The more popular ones here in the States, yeah.
So he goes to Man City. He scores against West Ham, but then kind of after that, it's kind of like nothing else really happens for him. Like, nothing else really happens. He only plays in 13 games to score 4 goals, but nothing stuff. It's not like Man City brings him back and say like, "Hey, look, we want you to be part of the team. We're going to bring you back on a permanent basis." No, he goes back.
He goes back. Yeah, he goes back to PSV.
And then he gets to move to Rangers, which is only like $700K at the time. I mean, this is also an era where transfer fees won't wild. Like, so $700K for an American, injury prone, probably has the label of injury prone. It kind of works out for him.
It works out for him. It does. But he had an interesting time at Rangers. But at least there, with a U.S. teammate, Claudio Reyna.
Yeah, he's only the second American. Well, at the time, he's only the second American, not including Claudio Ranieri. I mean, excuse that, Claudio to play at Rangers.
Yes.
But one of the more interesting things that we found out about him was that he had his car bombed at Rangers.
A lot of things happened when he played for Rangers. You had the car bomb. It was the first incident.
Yeah, that was it. I mean,
it's just interesting.
So pretty much from the story that I gathered, it wasn't like anyone was specifically targeting him. It wasn't like he pissed the fans off.
I think from what they say, the report, it was not believed to be sectarian related. For those of you that don't know, I know a lot of people who are listening probably are aware of the deep and bitter rivalries in the world of football. For example, Real Madrid and Barcelona, Manchester United and Liverpool, Arsenal and Tottenham.
Celtic and Rangers are a whole different level.
Celtic and Rangers is like those on steroids because it is not just a situation of we don't like that team. It's a situation of Glasgow, a city in Scotland, which is literally religiously divided. Yeah. And so there is behind the teams, behind the soccer, there is a religious rivalry. There is a religious battle that's going on. So they said that it was not related to that. So from what it seems like some idiots just picked the wrong car and just bombed it.
Like the thing that made me laugh the most, and I think I texted you about this, like he literally just looked out his window and was like, "Is that my car? That's my car." And then he goes to Twitter and just been like, "Yeah, I'm in the market for a new car because my car's blown up." He said like there's other teams that had a car broken in and stuff like that, but it was never on the case of like having your car blown up.
Yeah,
and it happened to him. I mean like
vandalism on one is one thing, but just to blow up someone's car, that's going over the top a little too much.
Oh, this is one thing I forgot to bring up at this time in PSV, and this is like one of the funnier stories we found out because Damarcus Beasley has like a multitude of nicknames.
Mm-hmm.
So like one of his nicknames is Beas or Damarcus or whatever. Another one was Gumby, about how he was just like, you know, early in his career, he can, like you said, like he can run and he would get knocked out and get back up. Like he was like stretched.
He wouldn't. He recovered from injuries very quickly, apart from that one serious one.
But one of the more interesting nicknames was the one he got from Marco Van Bommel when he was at PSV, and his nickname was McDonald's. And he said the reason why he was named McDonald's is because the PSV players at the time, the All-Americans, ate burgers and like McDonald's and stuff. So every time they went out to eat, they would be like, "Hey, Beas, what you getting? Are you getting a burger? Are you getting McDonald's?" And it just stuck. His nickname was McDonald's, which I thought oddly hilarious.
My thing is, if Damarcus Beasley was a little on the bigger side and would just happen to be really strong, maybe if he looked more like, say, someone like Romelu Lukaku, I could maybe understand that. But Damarcus Beasley is practically skin and bones. How are you gonna call somebody like that McDonald's?
that was hilarious.
That went to show you around that time, basically how Americans are viewed by Europeans.
Pretty much. So getting back to Rangers, his time as Rangers, I would describe it as mostly ups with a couple of downs. Yeah. And I think the downs are more off the field, stuff like the car bombing.
And the racism.
Yeah.
That was
the Champions League game.
Champions League qualifying game in August of 2007 against FK Zeta, which is in Montenegro. And so basically him and a French teammate, Jean-Claude, I'm going to make sure I pronounce his last name right, Darcheville?
I think you're right.
Were victims of racist chants during that game. Every time either one of them would even touch the ball, there would be monkey chants throughout the stands. And, I mean, I know this topic has been broached a lot in the soccer world today. This kind of shows you that this has been going on for a long time. This is 13 years ago. You know, this is something that has been going on in the soccer world for a very, very long time. And I think with regards to Damarcus Beasley, there is a sense that I mean, at the end of the day, it was basically all swept under the rug. FIFA didn't really do anything about it, much like they're doing today. And what's interesting is he was interviewed, and there was an article about it in ESPN regarding the situation where Damarcus Beasley was saying that FIFA isn't doing anything to stop racism. And he said that it's basically going to get to a point where a player comes off the field to attack a fan because of it.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, a few months later, Eric Dyer punches a fan for that reason. Tottenham's Eric Dyer. Yeah. And so, I mean, there have been warning signs. That I would say would be a shot across the bow. Yeah. And I'm hoping that players like Damarcus Beasley, players like Ian Wright, players like Eric Dyer, Paul Pogba, Balotelli, players like this push for FIFA to do something. Because at the end of the day, this shouldn't be the norm. This should not be the norm anywhere in the world. You're going to get your average idiot. Of course, it's going to happen. It happens everywhere. And I mean, I've seen it happen at City Stadium, but City Stadium is not known for having any kind of racism at all.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing to it is like you said, like, Damarcus brought this up in, 2005, 2006? And he literally, like, kind of was the precursor. He said, like, yeah, someone's going to go into the stands and mess somebody up. And then literally, like, a whole decade later, you got Eric Dyer doing it. Yeah. And the shame is, I mean, it's not right at all. But I mean, how would you describe Damarcus Beasley is like career at Rangers? Like, how would you describe it? Because it's not something that's really talked about, but it's something that everyone knows.
I mean, I feel like a lot of Americans, apart from his time at Chicago, at Houston, I think a lot of people know him for being in Glasgow. Okay. I know that that was when I had really gotten into him and his style of play and truly understanding him. It was actually shortly after a World Cup qualifying match at Gillette Stadium I actually went to, and I mean, Beasley, one thing that you can use to characterize Beasley is feisty. He's not dirty. He's not a dirty player. He's not going to do anything untoward, but he is feisty. He has pace. He's aggressive. I would say that he's kind of like Kobe Jones, except I feel like not as nice. Because I feel like Kobe Jones was the type of player that would blow past players, but once he gets clipped, he'll just get up and look at the ref and be like, "You're going to handle that?" Damarcus Beasley was the type to take matters into his own hands and be like, "You're gonna regret that later." And you could see it. His fight, the way he fought for every ball, very physical. And for someone his size, of his stature, you wouldn't expect that kind of strength from. But he was of joy to watch and a vicious player. So I think I don't think this stay at Glasgow kind of defined him at all, but I do feel that his time at Glasgow was actually the most eventful.
Probably.
I mean, if you look at,
I mean, anything's eventful if you're getting your car blown up at 11 p.m. I don't think you get it more eventful than that.
I mean, even on the field, I think Beasley could go back to Glasgow any day and be recognized on the street immediately.
And one of the funny things I figured out, before Beasley left Rangers, he was thinking about leaving like 2009, December 2009, January 2010. He was thinking like, all right, I want to kind of go somewhere, because he was kind of getting forced out of the Rangers squad, because he was just like not playing. Yeah. And of course he wanted to be part of the 2010 World Cup. So there's another story about how funny Damarcus' player history is. He decides to stay. He plays in 2 games. Dundee United, Motherwell, plays well. After the Motherwell game, he comes out and says, like, "Hey, I want to stay here longer. I want to play and help the team win a title." So Rangers like, all right, cool. Rangers win the title, but Damarcus doesn't play enough games to qualify himself to get a medal.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, yo, that's so messed up. that man could have literally left and been like, "Yeah, I'm out." And they were like, "No, we want you to stay, but you're not getting the medal." Like, that's messed up.
That's kind of.
I'm like, oh, dang, dude. But so he leaves Rangers. He goes to Hanover, and there's not a whole bunch to be said about his Hanover time.
4 games. That was it.
He literally, like, I don't know if he got frozen out, if he got hurt. I think it probably just wasn't a good fit.
That's what it seems like. But again, we go back to that his interaction with Jurgen Klinsmann. With Klinsmann basically saying, basically telling him, "Look, if you're not the best guy in that position, you're not going to start." That's basically what he was trying to get at. Yeah. Basically, you can even see to the point where you'll have teams where the best player on the team and the coach absolutely hate each other. But that coach is not an idiot. He's going to play that player every game because he knows he's going to get results.
I mean, the player. Beasley made that on point as well. Like, I probably wasn't in the right mind space. So I think that Hanover moment at the time is probably the reason why he makes the move to Puebla, and why also I think Beasley himself makes the move to playing left back. Because, I mean, for me, for instance, like, that's how I was introduced to Damarcus Beasley when I started getting the game. So it was Damarcus Beasley as left back.
Yes. And I think that's where he really found his niche in terms of play. Because he's kind of played all over the pitch.
To be honest, you haven't found a left back since Damarcus Beasley.
Yeah. No, there hasn't been anyone that could really fill those shoes. Those are some big shoes to fill.
And I mean, at Puebla, he did really well, scored a couple of goals, was in a competitive Puebla team, I believe, at the time. But I think, 2014, he becomes a designated player for Houston. And I think if you had to ask me, someone that got into soccer right around 2014, 2015, I think Beasley is like Mr. Houston in my idea. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he was club captain or anything, but I remember like him winning the 2018 U.S. Open Cup with them.
Yes, yes. And Damarcus Beasley, he was there for 5 years, for nearly 5 years. So that's a pretty long time to be at Houston, and I think that was probably his more successful season.
Yeah,
he had 3 seasons at Puebla.
But, I mean, Puebla, I think, got him back on the map because remember, like, there was a 5-year period where he didn't play over 20 games.
Yeah, he was,
and he finally got to playing back to regular games, which honestly I think helped the longevity of Damarcus Beasley for the long run because, Puebla, Houston, he's playing 30-plus matches, where Rangers, he's only playing, I think he played no more than, I want to say, 18?
No, 10.
10?
11. No, I think his first season at Rangers, he played 11 games. Okay. Scored 2.
Yeah. So, I mean, you look at
that is.
I mean, that's kind of like the mythology, the lore of Damarcus Beasley. Like, he is this guy that's never going to retire, because he's always going to be there. He's the ultimate teammate. Like, that's who he is. But I think, that stretch of 5 years where he wasn't playing week in, week out helps him out in the back end of his career where he kind of cements himself even more.
Yes. Yeah, and you can see he learned a lot from it. He learned where he was going wrong to earn playing time. And that's one thing that I feel that a lot of people need to take from Damarcus Beasley is that aspect of always learn from your experiences. Yeah. He took that information, took the fact that he wasn't getting a lot of playing time, and he evolved. He molded himself into the player that would be chosen for him.
You're talking about a player that out of all the players that's played for U.S. soccer, only 3 players have been to 4 World Cups. Him, Casey Keller, and Claudio Reyna. He's the only player to play in 4. Yeah. The other 2 have went to 4. He's the only one to play in 4.
Exactly.
And honestly, I don't think he makes 2000. I don't think he makes. He doesn't make 2014. If he doesn't make that switch to left back, which he makes the switch to left back because of the snow game.
Yes.
And he plays left back and has this amazing game. And when it comes talking to Beasley, I think there's like certain moments in his career that stand out more than others. Obviously it's the snow game for one. Yes. And I think the other game that also sticks out is him scoring the decisive goal in the 2005 Doce Cero, the World Cup qualifier game, where he scores not off of a corner. He kind of gets the relay ball from a corner and then scores it. I've broken out this goal like 30 times. And I swear, like, from the angle, I was like, the first time I saw it, I was like, is he onside? I was like, he's not onside. And then I saw it from another angle, I was like, oh, he was onside.
He was onside. and again, that showcased his pace.
Yeah. And honestly, if you want to say, like, Beasley's career really got its kickstart, of course, in the 99 U17 World Cup. But if you go 2002 World Cup, 2002 Gold Cup, he has a good tournament. He says that tournament alone got him to that 2002 World Cup team that is so far the best World Cup team we've had in the last 30, 40 years.
Yes.
And just look at it. He gets us there. He has an amazing tournament. 2006, I think, is an overall down year, but he kind of lays the assist for the only goal that we scored in 2006, so he did something positive.
Yeah. And 2010 comes back, and that was a pretty decent year for USA.
Yeah. And of course, 2014.
2014.
Yeah, I think he played every game in 2014. 2010, I think he was a sub mostly.
Yeah. 2014 played every game at left back. That's a pivotal year for U.S. soccer. 2014, Yeah. One goal in 30 seconds against Ghana. Yeah. That crazy game against Portugal. Yeah. There was a lot in that World Cup, and he was in the midst of all of that. He was a constant in that entire World Cup.
And I think the other thing too was like he also won a gold boot in the 2005 Gold Cup. With 3 goals, which is like you won a golden boot with 3 goals. But I mean, hey, that's all the allure of like Beasley. So you got anything else? Oh. How can we also forget this about Beasley before I wrap up? Because I was about to prematurely wrap it up. Beasley just recently retired. He's also said that like, "Hey, I'm not coaching."
He said, "I'm not coaching, and I'm not coming back."
Yeah, I'm not doing that. But it's cool to see like other players like them getting more into management. And I'll talk about it like from other sports perspective. We've always heard like how players, when they retire, they always get back into coaching. That's their way of getting, kind of getting back into the sport. And I think soccer's a little bit different because now you have a lot of players. It's definitely U.S. players that are getting into ownership. Mm-hmm. Tim Howard with Memphis 901, Landon Donovan with San Diego Loyal, Jimmy Conrad with the San Francisco Glens. It's in League 2. And Beasley's about to start his own League 1 team.
Yeah.
In Fort Wayne, Indiana, his home team, which he also has a soccer school there. So he had his own breeding ground already.
Basically. And so that was a very smart move by him, I feel. You want to lay the groundwork, and he talks about how much he's drawn to the business side of soccer in that interview with Grant Wall. He talks about how he didn't ever want to coach, but he definitely was interested in the business side of it. So now to hear that he's going to be heading a USL team, is it going to be Championship or League 1?
It's going to be League 1.
League 1. So yeah.
We'll see him.
We'll be seeing him. Well,
and
we probably won't be seeing him. He's part of ownership. He's probably not going to travel with the team.
Oh, he'll travel. I guarantee you. I guarantee Beasley's going to travel. I guarantee it.
I'll occasionally here and there, but
year 1, you're owning a team, you're traveling. It's just to be like, yeah, I own the squad. Yeah. That's kind of how it works. In my head, I imagine it like that. So anything else from you, my man, before we wrap up?
Basically, Damarcus Beasley is a big part of USA's recent soccer history. One thing that I feel is a regret is that he is not as well known as he deserves to be.
I mean, yeah.
But I think it's fitting because he is not a limelight player. No. He's not a player who wants to be in the limelight, in your face, paparazzi following all around. He is your typical honest, hardworking soccer player who's basically said, I just want to play the game. Yeah. And I really, really love that about him.
And the thing is, I think it's interesting the fact that him and Landon Donovan, I hope I can describe this properly, like, it's cool to see that him and Landon Donovan are cool, such close friends with each other, and their careers kind of start off the same. Like, both of them in the 99 U.S. U17 team. Both of them start off in MLS. Both of them go to Europe around the same time. Both of them come back to MLS around the same time. Yeah. Well, give or take. Landon's here a little bit longer. But, you know what I'm saying. Like, it's kind of cool to see that, and both of these guys were staples of the U.S. men's national team. Played in 3 World Cups together. And I think, our argument can be made for Beasley had as much impact, if not more, than Landon Donovan had on getting players to be part of U.S. soccer. Landon Donovan is a great spokesman for U.S. soccer. Yeah. Beasley's in that same boat, right?
I mean, you got to understand, you got to remember, go USA.
Yeah, that's probably ahead of anyone else. But I mean, like, for instance, like player like Josie Altidore showing, pretty much saying, like, if it wasn't that for Beasley, I'm probably not getting into soccer. I'm probably not as passionate about it as I was. And I think he was that for a lot of players. And I think for a lot of African Americans looking to get into the game, I think Damarcus Beasley is a great example of how to be. You start off as one player, like, and instead of just being like, well, like he says it himself, like, I could have, after things didn't work out at PSV, I could have just gone back to MLS and made $60K and been like, well, that's whatever.
Yeah.
Remember, not PSV, Rangers. But instead, he goes to Puebla, changes his position in a new country, and becomes probably one of the best left backs in North America.
Yeah, one of the best left backs in North America, and probably one of the best left backs that USA has seen.
Yeah. I mean, think about
it.
For the national team. You got to know if you're good when, one, it takes us like 5 or 6 years to find someone to fill that position, and two, when you're not in the team, we don't make a World Cup.
Exactly. Yeah.
You got to know you're pretty good. So, I think that's everything for me, my man. You want to lay out the sources we got so people don't think we're plagiarizing? I don't got time to get sued.
We have a few articles and websites that we've got ESPN article, ex-USMNT great Damarcus Beasley, FIFA doing nothing to stop racism. There are 2 articles from The Guardian that we referenced, one by Ewan Murray, I believe is how you pronounce his first name, Ewan. Damarcus Beasley's car blown up outside his Glasgow home. And the second one is by Tom Dart. Farewell to Damarcus Beasley, a U.S. start with no interest in the limelight. Also, we have the website famoussoccerplayers.org, the Grant Wall Planet Football podcast, an interview with Damarcus Beasley, and another ESPN article by Jeff Carlisle, Damarcus Beasley's post-playing career plan, USL franchise owner in Fort Wayne.
So, with all that being said, as always, this is your host, Elliot Barr.
Sinead Rand II.
And in the words of the famous Wale, sue us. We're rooting for everybody that's black. I'll let you guys next time.